Pledge of allegiance, please. Father, we come to you this evening asking for your blessings. Be with us tonight as we go over the budget of the city of Vienna, and please give us clear minds and always remember that we serve the people. We ask you to watch over all of our family and friends and keep them safe. Watch over us as we go about our daily duties, and always keep our first responders in your regard. These things we ask in your holy name, and keep our circle intact. Amen.
Amen.
Cam, if you would, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's see if there's anybody on the sheet. Thank you. I'd like to call to order the special session of the Vienna City Council for February the 29th, 2024. Let the record reflect that I've taken roll that all members of council are present this evening with the exception of Mr. Mancuso and Mr. Leach. Having a quorum, we will proceed. First item on our agenda this evening is our public forum. We've had one person sign up this evening, and that would be Chief Steve Scholl.
Good evening. The reason I want to speak to you all is we've been waiting for our results back from our ISO rating, which is the Insurance Service Office's office that calculates the insurance rating, what the insurance companies charge people to cover them for their insurance. It's based on 10 sections. The lower the number, the better off you are on it. You get from rating 10, 9, 8, 7, down to 1. We have been a Class 4 rating since 1987. That's the latest record, or the earliest records I can find. In 87, to be a Class 4, you need to be in the 60 range. That's anywhere from 60.00 points to 69.99 points. In 1987, we went to a 60.07, just made it in. The next rating was a 2001, which we went to 60.11. 2017, we went to 62.94, and this year we went to 65.52 points. So slowly we're getting up there. I was kind of hoping we'd go to a 3, but I figured that was going to be unreasonable at this point. But I'm extremely happy of being locked in to the 4 range. We're in the middle right now. As you can see, we're slowly moving up there. There's multiple things it takes into this. It's the fire department gets rated, the public works gets rated, and the dispatch center gets rated. Everyone has received basically about as good as rates as you can get. There's always improvement in the categories. With our rating, as a 4, I had a lot of bragging rights there for a while because we were the same rating as Parkersburg for years. Last rating in 17, they went to a 3. So I'd like to chase them, but at this point, that's not going to be possible right now. I'd like to thank a lot of people for this. Public Works for keeping the water up. The hydrants belong to them. We just use them. They supply, maintain them, and put the water in them and everything. The dispatch center, like I said, with the new dispatch center, the 911s, that's really helping out there. And the fire department, with our mutual aid agreements, our automatic mutual aid agreements between Waverly and Williamstown, they automatically get toned out the same time we do for structure fires. And with their helping, with their manpower and everything, that's helped us stay where we're at. I'd like to also mention this covers somewhat of the fire fee in there. People somewhat complain throughout the county for the fire fee, but it's really been beneficial to us because with the fire fee going, supplying money to those 2 departments, and all the departments in the county, but especially those 2 because they're our automatic departments, that's guaranteed them that they've got manpower, they've got equipment, they've got everything it takes to help us get there. So indirectly, we are getting money back from all of that, even though it's not coming right directly to Vienna. We get a beneficial part of that because they come and assist us, and it's been great working with them. Does anybody have any questions on any of that?
Chief, what would it take for us to go to a Class 3?
To go to a Class 3, it's going to take a manned or a staffed department over there full-time due to multiple things, because the training requirements, they say a new person coming in driving takes 60 hours a year of training just on the driving. And that's impossible to do, including everything else we have to do, the hazmat, the other training and everything, in 2 to 3 hours every Thursday night. And then we skip basically 2 months because of ticket sales going door to door for the ice cream social. So there's just not enough time to cover all the training with a volunteer department.
Thank you.
Mr. Azinger?
Are there very few threes in West Virginia?
I don't know the number of them, but in my opinion, to be a three, you just have to be a career department to do that. Some volunteer departments could do that, but they have to have a staff on duty. The volunteers would have to volunteer to be stationed at the fire station for, maybe not a 24-hour shift per person, but be covered 24 hours to be able to get your time response and the training and everything. It's tough to get people to show up now with the requirements we have, let alone having them be there to cover 24/7.
I bet there'd be less than 5.
I wouldn't even want to guess on that. Yeah. I know there's a few class 1s in the state. South Charleston is one, but very, very few. Class 1 is really, really having your stuff together.
Do we do anything to disseminate the information that the difference between a 4 and a 5, for instance, is really significant when you pay your homeowner's insurance?
I don't have the figures of what it actually saves the individual and the businesses, but you do get a savings every time you jump a class. Your insurance premiums go down. I don't have a guess. You'd have to ask the insurance people there.
It's in the millions of dollars.
Whole citywide, it would cover quite a bit, yeah.
We ought to try to figure out a way to disseminate that information.
We'd have to get with some of the insurance people to see if they can give us some reads, but I can attempt to see if they can give me some sort of ballpark figure on that.
Well, not just, but just people be aware of.
Yeah.
That they save lots of money.
Yeah, like I said, I'm extremely proud for our department to be covering a class 4 on the volunteer bit. That's like I said, we were the same as Parkersburg for years, and that's quite an accomplishment, I think. Any other questions? Thank you all very much.
Chief. The minutes from the regular council meeting on February the 22nd, 2024 have been printed, posted, and circulated. Are there any corrections to the minutes? There are no objections, and the minutes will stand approved as posted. We have no unfinished business this evening, so we'll move into new business. First item on our agenda this evening is a proclamation for the Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. Wow. Whereas National Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month officially began in 1987 with a proclamation from President Reagan to help bring awareness and acceptance for people of every ability. And whereas this year's theme across the nation is a world of opportunities, celebrating people and working together to remove obstacles. And whereas our goal is to build a community that is committed to creating a world where everyone can do well and succeed. And whereas people with a developmental disability are of all racial, ethnic, educational, social, and economic backgrounds, and all are valued members of society who find fulfillment living everyday lives. And whereas we value what is important to people with disabilities and their families who are striving for everyday lives no different than that of all other citizens. And whereas the City of Vienna has a commitment to being an inclusive community for people with and without disabilities, including the park recreation system. So therefore, we, the City of Vienna, West Virginia, do hereby proclaim March 2024 as Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month, and in doing so, we call upon residents, employers, schools, and community organizations in Vienna to observe this month and join in making a community where all kinds of people have the chance to thrive. signed this 29th day of February 2024. Randall C. Rapp, Mayor, City of Vienna. Doug Hess was here when we did our organization presentations, and Doug's been with the ARC of the Mid-Ohio Valley for many, many years, and I told Doug that I would be happy to do that. And so I thank Doug and all of his staff for all the work that they do, and it means a lot to our community. So we'll move on. The second item today is a bid approval. Since Mr. Leach is not here this evening, I will do that for him. Sealed bids for the purchase and installation of 2 electronic signs were opened on Thursday, February the 20th, 2024 at 10 a.m. with the following results. Elite Signs, $24,314. After careful review of the bid proposals, the recommendation for council approval for the purchase and installation of 2 electronic signs is Elite Signs in the amount of $24,314. Funding for this project will be from the account 01-439-65-59 pending a budget revision. These 2 electronic signs are the 2 that are at the entrance to the city. They have been out of commission now for several months. They are over 10 years old, and the software that supported them is no longer able to be used. So I will entertain a motion for the low bid, the only bid, from Elite Signs in the amount of $24,314 for the 2 electronic signs at the entrance to the city.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the sealed bid from Elite Signs in the amount of $24,314. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the sealed bid, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. I'm sorry I looked around because I thought we were going to be on the phone, and it's like they're not. Okay. The next item on our agenda this evening is a budget revision. This budget revision is budget revision number 7, and that is for the 2 electronic signs that we just approved the sealed bid for. This is in the amount of $24,314, and it is coming out of contingencies to pay for the electronic signs. So I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the budget revision number 7 in the amount of $24,314.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve budget revision number 7. Is there any further discussion?
I just have a comment. I guess I didn't even notice that sign was out, but I don't particularly think that a digital sign like that adds any aesthetic value to the city. And I mean, $24,000 for me, I think is a lot of money considering all the other things that we have before us that need to be taken care of. So I'm not in support of this. Not that I go places and I don't really see those digital signs as being a prominent thing in communities. So I kind of think it's something that's maybe dated, and I'd like to see us move away from that. So I don't support it.
I reached out to other cities around us that have the electronic signs and asked where they had gotten theirs. And so some of the cities sent us the actual documentation for where they had ordered the signs. And the one sign that one of the cities that sent the invoice in, which is here in our area, paid the exact same company the exact same amount of money 2 years ago. So I believe that the price is fair. And I know that a lot of people look to that sign. I think it's a great addition because of all the activities that are going on. And it's a nice way to let people know when they come into our town that activities are going on. So I do support this. Is there any further discussion? All right. If not, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of general fund budget revision number 7, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed? 4-1, it passes. All right. The next item on our agenda is the discussion of the 2023-2024 budget. All of the department heads are here this evening. The process for this evening will be that you all, as council members, have had the budget before you now for an entire week, and hopefully you've had a chance to look the budget over. The department heads are not going to make budget presentations because you have all the documentation. And so if you have any specific questions regarding any of the items in the budget, now is your opportunity to talk to the department heads. What we'll do this evening is we will simply go around council, and we will let council, if you have questions that you would like to ask, then that will be the process for that. And with that, Mr. Azinger, we will start with you.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to increase the annual longevity pay to 50 cents. I think the last time it was raised was probably 12, 13 years ago. If you would take the inflation and it averaged 2% and compound it over that period, it would be up around 50 cents. If you go to the grocery store, at the end of the day, and you made 50 cents more an hour, you could buy a $4 loaf of bread. There's no question that inflation has eaten that away, and 50 cents probably if you compound it, it'd come back between 55 and 60 cents. But I think we certainly need to raise that after more than a decade to 50 cents an hour.
Just so council's aware, tonight's discussion only.
Correct.
And so I would suggest that we do what we did last year when we did this, which is to save the amendments for when we're ready to finally adopt the budget, and we're just do it then. But I mean, you raise fair points, but tonight we're just asking questions about the
Okay, I withdraw my motion. I'll do it then.
So let me give, unless our finance director would like to fill in the calculations that she's made. The only other thing that in her research that we've looked at is, we often get compared to the city of Parkersburg. And so we reached out to find out, how Parkersburg handles this. And they do theirs not as they do theirs more as a longevity. A retention bonus. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. We have always called ours a longevity increase. They do theirs as a retention payment. And what they do is if you work for the city for 10 years, then you get a 50-cent bump. And that bump stays with you until you get to your 15th year. And then at the end of the 15th year, you get another 50-cent bump. And then if you stay with the city of Parkersburg for 20 years, then you get an additional bump of 50 cents. So you basically earn $1.50 after 20 years of service. And they call theirs a retention bonus, or I don't know if bonus is the right word, but anyway, theirs is based on retention, where ours is given every year as longevity. Yes, sir, Tom?
I think you could lose a lot of good people between that first and 10th year. Whereas if you started out immediately, I think it would be more of a retention bonus than if you waited 10 years.
I'm not suggesting that we do what Parkersburg, that's the only one that was around us that we could even find data on. No, sir, and Amy did all the our finance director did all of the calculations. And so she can tell you exactly what it costs the city every year for that.
Excuse me, Mayor. Can the department heads please have a microphone so we can hear them? Because I know.
It is there.
Okay.
When they go to speak, it's ready and
Appreciate it.
Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you. Because I know people at home probably couldn't hear you.
So I have done the calculations on the increase in longevity, taking it from 35 cents to 50 cents. And that comes out to the general fund, $24,913.42. additional a year. So you think about that, and I'm not saying one way or the other. This is just something that, you know, we're providing information. And so if you think about that $25,000, at the end of 10 years, that amount has compounded, and now you've added $250,000 to the budget just starting out. So it's something that we need to think about before we jump into it. If there are any other calculations you'd like me to do, I'd be happy to do it.
Yes, sir, John.
I think inflation will take care of that, at least it has in recent years. We always have 2% inflation.
Yeah, my other thought on the subject was, you know, one of our main, I think we all are aware, one of our main pay issues is our starting wage. And what we've tried to do the last few years is we've tried to adjust our starting wage by the amount of the pay raise that we give. So in the past, let's say we gave $1 pay raise, we've divided that 35 cents longevity and 65 cents as the raise. And the raise then is put onto our starting wage, which is helping us build that up a bit, because that is one of our biggest issues. It's just another way to think about it.
Mr. Azing, are you finished, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Brady, you will be next.
All right. I'll be brief. Looking over the budget, most of them are pretty close, very similar to last year and previous years. I do have a couple questions. Well, first, let me say I had some questions relative to the fire department budget on capital outlay and equipment. I got those answered today by talking with the chief, and I'm in support of those. So I think that looks good. There was a significant drop in the request for VRIA. That caught my eye. Increases or reductions catches my eye just as much as raises. But what led to that is...
Mr. Bibby, can I answer that one for you?
Yes, sir.
However you want.
Help me if I'm not correct, help me, but I did speak with them about this. That was by their request. They feel that the programs are being so successful that they can fund their own way. Yeah, it wasn't us, Roger. They wanted us to know that they're doing really well.
Okay, that's what I was...
Oh, yeah, that's a best scenario. But
Yeah.
anyway, when we did tell them, look, if you get into a bind and something comes up, then please bring it back to council for council consideration. But right now, they think they can stand on their own 2 feet.
Okay, very good.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
In that transition year that we did when all the programs came over to Vienna Rec, there was, they had calculated, kind of prorated, is that a good word for it? How it was like the 60-some thousand, where we had to basically say they weren't used to running those programs, so what was the cost of those programs when they came over? And so as a city, we subsidized that part of it, but now that they've got things rolling, they've seen that they are not in need of it, so.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. So VRIA is not getting any money this year? Is that what we're saying?
Correct.
Next is, well, let me see here. Recycling. Is that due to the contract, what looks to be like a $35,000 increase?
Yes, sir. The recycling contract went out for bid again, and Holloway Trash was the low bidder due to gasoline costs and et cetera. They did raise their price, but that's a pass-through.
Right.
We don't pay that.
I understand that, yeah. I was just wondering about the price increase.
New
on that,
contract.
which
So
seems
if you
like-
notice on the front page, the revenues raised in conjunction with the expenditure.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Next is the IT department. Pretty good raise there, and it looks like that's in,
I think it's your all's. Yeah.
capital outlay. I'm just curious, I'm not aware of what all that entails.
You're referring to the Dell VX Braille, which is the newest request this year.
Yeah, yeah.
Essentially, that is something that we purchased in the 2021 budget year. It's essentially 4 machines put together. It was called virtualization. Right now, we're running about 7 servers. We're running about 7 different servers, each running Windows servers that do all our various files and application tasks. But they are all becoming very dated. And the VX Braille, what it will do is it'll take all 7 of those machines and put them onto one singular machine, so essentially a single supercomputer running all of our servers rather than 7 different machines with their own support and lifestyle and hardware that needs to be changed if something goes wrong. We've already purchased it, but in the 2 years we've had it, it's never actually worked correctly. It's mostly just been sitting on the shelf collecting dust. There's been a few times we've attempted to put it up.
What is that? I'm curious of why that is. I mean,
during that year was COVID, so I'm not sure what happened. That would have been during the time of Chris McGrew. He would be the one who purchased it and brought it in, and then the last IT director, Josh, he attempted to take over the project and get it up and running. He was also unsuccessful with it. And in that time, now support has run out for it, and I've attempted to get support from Dell to get it up and running, but just the base state it came in was just unacceptable. So that's what the capital expenditure is for. One, to renew support so they will talk to me again, and then get their professional deployment team to actually come out, wipe it over, and start from scratch, and get value of actually what we paid for, which would, I believe, over $100,000 is what we paid for it, and I believe it should be about time we actually put it to use.
I would think.
I have a question about the procedure. Are we allowed to ask questions?
You'll get a chance when you're done.
Well, because this is an IT-related question.
Okay, so when you have your time, you're welcome to ask Chris.
Okay, that's what I'm trying
Josh.
to ask about the procedure.
Thanks.
I'm trying to be clear. I don't understand what you're saying. I can't ask now. I have to wait until.
Yes, ma'am.
And then I ask all my questions at once.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so I have to step back, Amy. I'm sorry. Our finance director and I discussed this afternoon, and part of the instructions that I wanted to give you all was this. The budget that you have is a balanced budget. All right? Once we get done with all of the discussion with the department heads, and for example, if Mr. Azinger is going to make a motion to change the longevity from 35 cents to 50, then those calculations will have to be figured in to the budget at that time. The other thing is that we still do not have our tax information. We won't receive that from the assessor's office for a little while longer, but that will also change the bottom line on this. The other item that's still up for determination is our insurance renewals. And at this point, we are very confident that the renewal will not have an increase in it this year. And so when the finance director built the budget together, you did use the number that we paid last year in the calculation. So that should not change the bottom line. And that, as far as I can remember, Amy, are the only factors that can, the changes, obviously, the council wants to do that, but everything else is pretty much set as we speak now. All right. So I'm sorry, I should have done that at the beginning. If that has brought up any other questions, when we get done with everybody's first round here, then we will go back and see if there's anything that's come to mind for anyone. All right. Mrs. Elam, you're next.
I'll defer to Ms. Williams. You can go next. It's fine.
Sure.
Yeah, that's fine. Because most of what I'm going to ask is probably going to be things that you guys have already answered.
Okay. I appreciate it.
you go
Thank
for
you
it.
very much. Well, the first place I want to start is actually on the first page. I want to talk about the revenue side. Mayor just mentioned this is a balanced budget as it is. And in order to balance that budget, it looks like we have to bring $718,367 in from capital reserves to balance this out. In the past, it's been a lot lower. I mean, I think, it says it on here how much it was, but anyway, it's $407, almost $408,000 more than last time. The pool, right? That's the biggest bulk of that is the bond payments that we have to pay for the pool. So I guess what I'm getting at, anything that we reduce out of this budget that we find, for whatever reason, council decides they want to remove it, then that's going to be less money taken out of capital reserves, correct? I mean, that's one way of doing it to balance the budget.
Yes.
Because, for example, if we said, oh, we want to take $100,000 out of this, and in order to balance it, then you would take less money out of capital reserves instead of taking out, 718, then you would be 618.
So if you get rid of expenses, you can lower that revenue.
Right, which is,
You add expenses, you have to,
right, I understand how it works. I just want to make sure everybody else understands how it works, because I think it's really important as we talk about, all the budget requests, if there are things on here that people aren't comfortable with, then if they, what's the result of taking them out and what that does to our money in capital reserves. So, and if I understand this correctly, because I just got confused by something the mayor just said, I was prepared to not make amendments tonight.
Right.
Because that was the instructions that we're giving, so we're not doing amendments tonight.
tonight is discussion only.
Okay, because then I think he's just said something a minute ago that kind of threw me off. So, do you have an idea, we're 3/4 of the way into this budget year, do you have an idea or your best guess on what the carryover is going to be?
I'll get that for you.
Okay.
I'll work on that.
Yeah, I'm just,
Can you use the microphone,
I'm
please?
sorry. I'll work on that. We don't have, the main thing on the carryover is the sales tax. That is the main effect. We don't get our Christmas quarter
yeah,
on our sales tax until April. The month of December, the sales in the month of December become sales tax in January, which then doesn't come to us until April.
right.
So it's, until we get that number, it is really difficult to give a great estimate
Right.
because
sure.
Christmas really affects it the most. But I will give you, I'll just go back and base it on last year's and,
So I know I
and,
asked
but,
you the
you know.
same question last year, and I think you're probably in a better position to give that answer because there were some things that were happening with, I forget what it was, that you had a better idea that was independent of from the sales tax. But speaking of the sales tax, I did notice that you anticipate, what is it, about $200,000 more in 1% sales tax and also $100,000 more in B&O tax. And I did look that up, and I think those numbers are really strong. I don't have an issue with that. But I just wanted to mention it because that's like $300,000
Yes.
more that we're working with or anticipating that we're going to be working with than in previous years. I wanted to talk a minute about what Mr. Azinger was suggesting about the 50 cents longevity. And Mr. Azinger and I have talked about it quite a bit. I think I've talked to Melissa about it some. And I think I would really like to see us consider that, because while I understand what you're saying Parkersburg does, we can't keep up with inflation at all for folks. And I got some historical data from you regarding the longevity. And I guess it first began in 1997 when they put in 20-cent longevity. And then they didn't increase that until 35 cents until 2013. And so it hasn't, now we're in 2024, and it hasn't increased. And so, the dollar in 2013 is equivalent in purchasing power of $1.32 today. I mean, obviously, we've gone through some really unusual inflationary times. But generally speaking, I think if you're going to keep people at that 35 cents, and it's for 11 years now, we're not keeping pace with inflation. And I think that does I'm very concerned, as everybody up here is, I'm sure, about all the retirements and the fact that we have so many jobs we can't fill now. I know Mr. Metz had mentioned up at Public Works that they're down 4 people, and there's one person that's probably ready to retire, so that would put them down 5 people. And if you go and you look at, for example, the overtime in Public Works in the month of January was like 137 hours. Well, we had water breaks, we had snow and all kinds of things, and those guys have to get out there and take care of business for us, and I really appreciate that. But the result of 137 hours of overtime is really not managing things the way we need to. And so I think that we need to kind of relieve some of that pressure and really think about doing it at 50 cents. My preference, honestly, would be, and I've been saying this since the day I got here, was to do a wage study for all the departments and then compare apples to apples. I know that it's easy to go out and say, well, these different municipalities around us pay X, Y, and Z for certain jobs, but we have the most phenomenal health insurance and, you know, benefits and all that stuff, paid time off. So on the benefit side, there's so much value there compared to, like, for example, Parkersburg. So I think this is going to be a constant problem until we buckle down and say we really want to look at everything so that we have the data to make a good decision. Because honestly, I don't feel we have the data to make a good decision. I don't feel comfortable with it. But yet we need to take care of our employees. So to what Mr. Azinger was saying about raising the longevity from 35 cents to 50 cents, I would have to say that I support that. It may not be, I understand what you're saying about how it compounds over the years, but I mean, we have.
I am just providing information.
Yeah.
I want you to have as much information to make a good decision as you can. So I don't want you to, you know, show up here in 3 years and say, how do we add this much money to the budget, right? That's my job. My job is to provide the information.
Sure.
And so you guys make the decisions, and so you have every right to whatever that is.
I appreciate you saying that. I'm clear about that. I know that you're not, you know, you're just providing information, and appreciate what you're saying. Let me move on to another question. On the expense side, I saw that contributions to pensions was down $150,000. Is that because we switched the pension plan?
That's the biggest reason
Yeah.
why. Yes. The new officers that we hire, we pay a different percentage of the pension on them. And just the fact of closing the plan itself gave the plan a finite end, right? This isn't going on forever. This is, we've got an end now. And so actuarially, then it is easier to calculate how much money it's going to take to pay these guys out for the rest of their time.
Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, I know we anticipated it at the time, and actually seen it in the budget. That was kind of nice. That was a nice little bonus. On line, I'm going to go to line 422, personnel. Of all days for me to forget my laptop at home, I did it today. Line 30, contract services. It's reduced by $6,000.
Correct. That's because the safety training that I used to have come in, they no longer do that service. So we were paying them between $500 and $550 each month to come in and do training or do safety audits.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
410, which is the city council budget. I saw that we still have $50,000 in there for Spencer's Landing like we did last year. and $75,000 for the kayak launch. So there's no anticipation for the amphitheater that we're not putting aside any seed money really for amphitheater, any development whatsoever down at Spencer's Landing.
Well, I
Because,
mean, the 50,000, but I don't think we have any kind of numbers at this point to project what that would be.
okay, 'cause the reason I'm asking about that is because I know 32,000 or 30,000 rather. Mr. Mancuso was trying to get a company that specialized in brownfields to do a concept for Spencer's Landing. That's kind of been tabled at this moment, but anticipating that possibly could come alive again. You know, I'm just curious because that doesn't seem like there's any money whatsoever down there to develop anything. And we've talked about this for a long time of trying to get some kind of development started, but there's nothing in the budget that is encouraging that we're going to be doing that. Okay, well, that's all I have on that one. 431 newsletter. I think that's you again too, Ms. Brockman. Okay, I was just curious that postage is down 3,500 and printing costs are down 5,000. Now, in my business, I know postage is not down; it's gone up. So I was hoping you'd be able to explain that.
Well, part of that is I used to do a quarterly newsletter. Now I only do 2 a year. So we do a fall, winter, and a spring, summer, and we put all the activities in there during those certain months. So that's a lot of it. Also, they took out a lot of the duplicate addresses, which also helped.
Sure, perfect. No, that's good. My next question is IT 439. Some of it I think was answered when you spoke to Mr. Bibby, but I just wanted to know. It says you're getting computers and cameras. Can you tell me how many computers and cameras you're getting?
Yes, this is the same amount that I requested last year for a continued refresh on the computers. We were, with the funds this fiscal year, I was able to get 15 computers to start handing out, as well as I've gotten about 20 cameras altogether with the security cameras.
Okay. Okay.
I anticipate that'll continue on for another year, and then probably have a 1 year where we don't need any computer refresh before we start another 3-year cycle.
Yeah. Very good, thank you. The next one I had, 570 streets. Craig. Line 58, capital outlay, $850,000 for paving projects. I have to say that $850,000, we've had that in the budget in years past, and I know there's been a lot of increase in materials. And so I'm just concerned that $850,000 is not enough money to address what our paving needs may be.
I agree.
I thought maybe you would.
Yeah. It'd be $1.8 million.
Mm-hmm. So do you have an estimate of, I don't even know how you estimate that, of how much paving that, I mean, in miles or?
Mile. That's not a mile. Okay. No. I wish it was a mile. We could do some streets, but $850,000 will do. It depends where it is and the thickness of the asphalt. Example, say we did 28th Street and it usually is 5-inch base or 3-inch base, 2-inch wearing because of the traffic on it. It might go 2,000 feet. Then you'll do side streets, avenues. You'll do a 3-inch overlay on those. So this year we're looking at a couple of streets. We're doing one up on Forest Hills Drive, 23rd to 28th and 8th Avenue. Most 8th Avenue, quite a few side streets. So you might get 3/4 mile streets out of it.
And this is going to include concrete as well, or just asphalt?
This year, I'm going to concentrate on asphalt.
Okay.
I got a lot of deterioration in asphalt streets, a lot of potholes popping up. So we spent a lot of money the last couple of years in concrete streets. Still haven't even come close to finishing them. But we need to start getting back on the addressing of the asphalt streets.
Okay. Is there a way I can get a map of that? I mean, just what you have. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's very helpful. Am I missing something, or is this the first time? I don't see any purchase of vehicles or any kind of equipment in your department.
I call it assets. That's an asset. Vehicles. This year I put in for substantial pay raises for my department. And in my opinion, the biggest asset the city can have is the employees. Again, we all know that I'm 4 down. You said one's leaving, you should add 3 to that. And with the leaving of that is some of our individuals that have lots of training. You're looking at class 2 operators, and we lose them. We are in a critical stage of employment. We talk about it. This past year, Stephanie sent applications to us. Half of them are Indeed. I think they're just general filled out. They really don't apply to us. The people that we did call in for Indeed come in. We sit down with them, talk to them, tell them the starting rate, and get them to leave. And to be honest with you, some of the people come in. 4 years ago, I wouldn't let them in the door. I don't know. The quality of individual's not there.
So just so everybody knows, the starting rate in your department is $14.89.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get somebody to do that type of work for $14.
We've advertised for 3 weeks heavily on Facebook. Stephanie posted, she did. I think everybody shared it. I've had 2 individuals apply. Neither one of them qualify. They don't even have a driver's license. Okay? McDonald's is starting at $17 an hour. I mean, we're going this city's going to do something with the employees, raise rates, get more quality individuals in here applying for the position. Because when they started S1, these guys are starting out. They're the ones that pours the concrete, dig the ditches, the shovels, mows the grass. But these guys develop over time. And to be a class 2 water operator, you're looking at 5. You have to have 5 years experience and pass 2 difficult exams to be a class 2 operator. And, I got 2 of them right now that are at retirement age. That will more likely be leaving in this year. They've expressed that to me. That leaves me with 1 class 2 operator, which we are a class 2 system. And if we lose that individual, you could sell the system to American Water because we're done. We're in violation. Okay, we are at that critical stage. And if you think, okay, we'll sell American Water, it's not that big of a deal, look at the rates, folks. I mean, I got rate pattern here. If our standard 4,500 gallons per month usage, it's costing Vienna residents approximately $50 a month. American Water moves in, right now in Charleston, it's $240 a month. Okay? Mm-hmm. We can't operate it without class 2 operators.
Oh, I agree. I think it's a very critical thing in what you're saying because, everybody complains about the water rates.
Mm-hmm. We're not.
Until you interject American Water into it, and then there's that for profit, right? Yep. And so you're really going to be paying. And I don't want to see that happen.
Their minimum bill is higher than our standard bill of 4,500 gallons.
Right.
Yeah. So we're at that point, and I've spoke to you all back in November about it. I was kind of hoping you all said we'll come to budget. We'll look at that. We are here. It's a proven fact. We raised rates. The quality individuals. We just went through the police department. Last week, I seen everybody stand up and cheer because the police department was full of staff. You've done that because you raised the rates, which they deserved. And you got the quality individuals in here to apply for that position, and he's at full staff. We're not even close.
So for water and sewer, that would come off the enterprise fund. I mean, yes. So that's going to be something that would be discussed at the VUB as far as.
That's correct.
So the portion of it that would come out of the general fund budget is just streets and stormwater, right?
Correct.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I had for you. I want to skip over to 704, which was economic development. And so this particular department, I mean, we really haven't done very much with it since Mr. Thornton, we didn't renew that back. That's before I was on council. The previous council, and the only thing that's come out of this has been the $8,000 for the area roundtable, and then last budget season, Mr. Leach had asked for a $25,000 to seek a city planner developer, and then that's now turned into a project development coordinator. So for this budget, 24-25, on line number 23, professional services, that's $18,750. I don't know what that is, nor do I know what 30 is contract services, which is $25,000. And then there's also $6,000 for travel. So I don't know what any of this is about.
So the $18,750, if you remember, we passed to give $75,000 to the Economic Development Board, the Wood County Economic Development Authority. So that $75,000 will take us a year, right? That payment is 1 year's worth. $18,750 will be the remaining quarter that we will owe them in next year's budget. Because we did a budget revision for the $75,000.
Okay.
Okay. The $25,000 I had originally put down in contracted services, but I am going to move that amount to salaries. I am taking the $25,000 and I am moving it to salaries because the project development coordinator is a part-time employee of the city, not a contractor. So I will move that. I will move $1,913 into FICA line item, and I will reduce the amount of travel by that same amount so as to not increase this department.
Question about
Does
that.
that answer?
Okay, so this $25,000 starts July 1st, but I thought this position.
Right. So this is, we're talking about in this budget, that's what I'm going to have to do to this budget, okay? But I'm also going to have to come forward with a budget revision. There's $25,000 in there this year. So I'm going to come forward to Budget and Finance in March, and I am going to make a budget revision to move part of that $25,000 into salaries. It's $8,000 and some dollars, and whatever the corresponding FICA amount is, I'm also going to use to an internal budget revision to move that money. Okay. So it's approximately $9,500 in total out of the 25 that I'll move up into the salary and the FICA line items.
Okay, so this is nothing new. This is just adjusting it
yes.
between, the two budgets. Okay, so I know last week when this position was approved, that we were told it was a 1099 position, and unfortunately that was the question I was going to want to ask about that, but the question got called because I know that the mayor said it was a 1099 position, and I know that it can't be a 1099 position because it doesn't meet the IRS guidelines for that. So I don't know, we're not going to go into that this evening, but I think that hopefully we'll have a better explanation of all that, how that's going to work next time we meet. Okay, well, I guess my next question is for Jack, 579 beautification. My first question is, line 41, you have $75,000 for spring plantings. And we've done that for years.
Yes.
And, but somehow it runs in my mind that was like $45,000 last year. So trying to figure out if it's more expensive to do those spring plantings this year?
No, really what we've done, we've added one planting this year, which is 60th Street. And we've added that in. That's going to add about $3,000 to it. Part of the cost that you never know about what the watering's going to come in.
Right.
So that's about the same right there.
Okay, because last year I just got my notebook up from last year and looked it up. I had $45,000 on the city plannings, and then there were other things in that line item last year. We had $17,000 for the pollinator park for some plannings, and we did some electrical work apparently around 30th Street. So it seems like that was a lot more money. So you're saying that $75,000 and that's all it is the city planning?
Yeah, that's the water in the city planning is correct right there.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so either I'm mistaken then, it wasn't $41,000 last year?
I think we're higher than that on the flowers in previous years, and then the watering last year ran around 30, I believe it was $35,000 range.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm really worried about that on the watering, because if you really look at it, and then the city has to invest and we have to hire somebody. And I think Steve and I've talked about it at one time, or Norm and I talked about it, that if you have to commit a person to that, to watering, and some of that watering's on the weekend, and you've got to have a truck, and you've got to have everything that goes with it.
I think they're beautiful and they add a lot. They make our city look great. It's just $75,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
To me, it is.
Right.
Okay. Let's see. The other thing, all the different things that you want to do down there with on 28th Street.
Sure.
I think they're all great ideas, and I frequent that all the time. I go down there, walk my dogs. It's wonderful. I love it. There's been a significant investment of that over the last year and a half. I mean, we have the asphalt track, the plaza that was created there at the Knoll, or whatever you want to call it, and the signage and different stuff like that. But when you add up the amenities that you want to put in there now, which is the viewer, the tables, the benches, all the concrete work, the pavers, the electrical work that has to be done, et cetera, it's over like, I don't know, it's like $123,000. And as a concept, I don't have a problem with it. But for me, the issue is that first of all, it's not a recreational area. We're holding it outside in this gray area. And I don't particularly like that for a lot of reasons, but for a budget reason, because I look at it as a recreational area. And so I think it needs to be into parks and be viewed as a recreational area and prioritized with all the other recreational areas that we have, because, you can't do everything all at once. And so you have to prioritize things. And so I'm super not comfortable with that amount of money being spent on right now. I'm not saying that's something that maybe couldn't be phased over several years, but another reason I'm not really comfortable about it is because we wanted to develop Spencer's Landing, and I think that you look at those two pieces of property kind of together and how they play off of each other. And I don't, do we want 10 light poles up there, and it's going to cost $45,000 to do that? I don't know. For me, probably not. But
I look at it as, it is pollinator garden area, so I don't really look at it as the parks. I look at it as its own unique area. And I think, in considering what possibilities are for it, I would envision people that are visiting in the city of Vienna, or that are working in offices, or in the downtown area, that it's a place that they can walk to. You've got the new McAfee's and everything coming. And I just picture an area where, it fosters people being able to go in and sit at benches, sit at tables, observe and relax. And you don't have playground equipment down there. So I think, it's putting an image forward for the city. The Grand Central Mall, and Jody has always talked about how nice it is to bring tentative clients up through the city of Vienna and show them, and they see a vibrant community and everything. And I just think it really, the aesthetics of it and everything, I think really contribute to the city. And the other part of it, do you do it? Do you get it done? That's why I'm looking at just all the infrastructure, doing it and getting it done. And part of what I had done was back under Trek Vienna. It was basically 3 years, and it had to bore the Tree and Beautification Commission to death. And those were people that were volunteers, and they're people that want to plant flowers and watch trees. And, I'd promised them that we were going to try to do a project that would be for them. And part of this project, and then part of that cost, is, there's $15,000 worth of flower plantings down there. It's through a company that I have talked to, that's the only one I'm familiar with in the area, that's called Native Roots. It's all native wildflower type things. That's over at the library. They have them in their plantings over there. But what I'm looking at is community and the master gardeners. They've wanted a project. And so it's kind of like, we're going to get the infrastructure, we're going to get it in place and work with the master gardeners. And then they're going to come in, and they've said they're going to take care of it. They're going to do the plantings. They want to do it, and they want to be involved with it. So I'm just trying to get that part done, Kim, and step away from it. And I know the tables, if you look at it and you go, wow, the tables are expensive. I get that. They're American made. They're made out of steel. They come out of Pittsburgh. Everything's welded. Nothing's tack welded. It's solid. The tables weigh 650 pounds. They got a 3-coat powder paint process. The last coating of paint, you have the option of getting silver ions put into it, which is supposed to be antimicrobial, so you don't get bacteria. So there's a lot to it. They're talking to me a lifespan on the tables and on the benches of 50 years, so it's not like something we're making a lesser investment and then having to go back and redo it in a few years. A lot of the picnic tables, when you see them, or a lot of the tables, I know I looked at one that was about $1,200, $1,200 range, but they've got the metal brackets underneath that the pin always wears out, and you go to fold them. So I did. I looked at quality, and it was recommended to, and we had them up at Trek Vienna, and that's what I looked at about getting it done. So that's why it's up. But then next year, maybe there won't be a project in my tree budget. It's down to where it's about half. Less than half. And then if I get the match, like the state of West Virginia's already talked to me and said, we got another $15,000 for you because you're part of the group. We followed through with what we said on doing the streetscape inventory. There's another $15,000 next year. So, and those costs are in my budget. So my $45,000 or $47,000 that's out there on the tree side could be reduced by another 15, and that's down to 27. So if you combine my numbers, trying to get them down, but yeah, I do understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I think that area, and I won't call it a park since we're not going to call it a park, but I think it's beautiful. It's wonderful, and I enjoy it. And I talk to a lot of people who enjoy it. But for me, when I look at taking money out of capital reserves, because now we have a $12 million budget, so I'm looking at ways to kind of reduce that. And to me, it doesn't seem like it's that. Yes, it's nice, it's wonderful, it'd be great. And I know you've got quality product that you're trying to put down there, but is that something we want to do now, considering everything else? So it's not, I'm just looking at ways to kind of spread things out. And I know you're a person with a lot of things on your plate, and it'd probably be a lot easier to get things done all at once. But so you can just take it off, and then you can move on to something else. But sometimes that does not maybe work out that way. But I will mention that I do like the idea of an electrical drop being put down there, because as we've talked before, I think we can do a lot of interesting things, especially around the holidays, because you can do things with lights and you can have a Christmas walk. And I think that would be really, super cool. I like that idea.
Can I mention the viewing scope that we talked about, and that's down there? And it's another thing that's an investment. One of the things, back in the late 1960s, early 1970s, you used to be able to walk up the park road that goes up over the hill by the swimming pool, and that was a red clay road. And I know because I walked with my brother, there used to be a telescope up there in the 60s or 70s, and it was just something that people could go up and kids could go up. And that's part of what I thought with this viewing scope. I've seen people down there, and I've thought, you see the barges going up and down the river, and you think that would be something that kids could watch, and they could see, the barges and the look and everything. And then they were handicapped. There's 2 of them because I wanted to get a handicap pedestal because I thought it'd be great for that little area. The 900 yards is really used by a lot of older people, elderly people, and I know it's a lot of possibilities there.
Oh yeah, it's a fabulous piece of property. On your tree commission budget, 600. Just have a question about that real quick. Line 30, contract services. I have a note here that $7,000 for inventory to have Davey do an inventory.
Yeah, Kim, if you remember when we looked at their inventory in 3,500 trees, and then that's the cutoff point, and there's absolutely no way to estimate how many trees are going to end up being in the city. So what I did, I took $7,000 and put it into the budget, and that might not even be used. They may, I talked to them this morning, it may be that they finish, and so that takes my budget down further, but it's only used if there's additional trees that they're not able to look at under that plan.
Okay, so then if you don't end up using it for that, you're not going to use it for anything else?
No,
Okay,
that's for that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I know it would be impossible to estimate how many. I support the Davy tree inventory. I think it's a great thing that's happening.
I'll tell you one thing about that inventory that's going on right now is we're going to be able to use that because Monpower's in the area and they're going to put their own crews available for tree removal. So when I talked with Davey this morning, they're going to reference any trees under power line right of ways, and we'll relay that to Monpower, who will actually cut the trees down for us. And Craig's already agreed that they can pick up all the material, the bigger material, and so it's a great plan because it saves the citizens any trees, any cost, the city cost. So anyway.
Yeah, it's a great addition. Well, that's all I had for you. Wasn't too bad, was it? Okay, good. Next I have is parks. And did I look at this correctly? You don't have any requests for vehicles or equipment?
No.
Same situation as Craig?
Well, I do have 4 big items in here, but I feel and I share exactly what Craig said. I understand, and it was an excellent move with the police department. I've got nothing with that. While Craig is X amount of men down, I only have 8 plus myself, but I've got 3 teetering on retiring. When that happens, now I'm back in the same boat he is. Now we don't fix water lines, sewer lines, but I do have 2 guys that, if he needs them, can help with snow plow and those kind of things if need be. But a wage increase is definitely needed. Included in my packet, there was a survey done by the West Virginia Parks Association, which I was part of, and that's the numbers that I had included. And I was really surprised. Some of the parks are larger, some of them are smaller, some of them are like size. But we were down, on the average, almost $3 with most of them, with the exception of the parks director, but I'm not going to worry about that at this time.
Okay.
And the things that I did include
are things, as I said, and I'm one of the three. I don't know how long I'm going to do this, but there's projects that I've been working on, working toward, that I'd like to continue, and some I may complete with my requests. Primarily the playground and the resurfacing over at the park area.
Well, one of your big requests that I way support this request. The $225,000 for the restrooms at McDonough.
Right.
I know that you, in your narrative that you wrote us, that got pulled twice, and that really needs to get done. That
it does.
I use that park as well. It's well loved, McDonough area, but that bathroom really is needing it.
It would be a bathroom that somewhat models what's over at Spencer Park, just a little bit larger.
Yeah, and that turned out nice. That was a nice project. On line 15, maintenance building grounds, it has $92,000 here, but I read in your summary you had $85,000 in a request, so what's the difference? What am I missing?
Well, basically, there is still work. We maintain the fields, facilities, and everything like that, Vienna Rec has some things that need to be done as well. So that's something that we take care of. There's also some electrical projects. Every time I turn around, there's a new electrical project, unfortunately. But that's the reason.
That's my mistake, actually. He has 85, and I think I put it in as 92.
Yes, that because it was an increase.
But still, that's why it's that high.
I'll change it.
So it's going to be 92, not 85.
No, it's going to be 85.
Oh, so hey, did I just find $7,000? Whoop whoop.
So when you get your next budget.
Okay. At the bottom, 66, line transfer to other funds or contributions. You have the Vienna 5K, $1,000, and the Y Mud Run, $500. Are we doing both of those events?
At this point, we're not doing the Vienna 5K, but we are doing the mud run.
We are.
And also, PHS softball has clinics over there, and I help them a little bit as well.
Yeah, I saw that.
So this is for next year's.
Okay, yeah.
Boy, that's true.
Okay, so the Y next year will not do the mud run, that we will do that in-house?
No, it will be in conjunction with the Y.
Okay. All right. The next line item I have is 542, the pool. So Amy, this $387,000, that's for the bond payments?
Yes.
The lease revenue bonds. I don't know, in my mind, I thought it was going to be more. I thought the payments were going to be like $42,000 a month, whatever that worked out to be. We did a budget revision for this. I don't know, maybe it was back in December, January.
I'll look at it again.
Okay. It just seemed, I would be very grateful if it's only $387,000, but I thought it was more than that, and that may be my misunderstanding. The other thing that I was concerned about is line 13, utilities. It basically doubled up to $12,000, and I don't know how that would, if we have to fire those heaters up either at the beginning, if we're able to get the pool opened in May, of course that'll be this budget year, but anytime those gas heaters get fired up, that's going to be really super expensive. So I don't know how comfortable I feel about that line item only being $12,000.
I talked to the people, Paddock Pool, that are dealing with these things, and they couldn't give me any estimate on what the gas usage would be. I did talk to Don Stemple. North Hills has a heated pool, and he said their gas bills are very constant. So I asked what the number was. Well, he didn't have that available. But it's not a big deal. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's not a big deal. If we keep the pool open into September, 9 times out of 10, when I do my announcing, it's freaking hot in September at those ball fields. So, I don't know that the heater is gonna be a major player in all this, if that makes sense.
Sure.
It'll be there, take the edge off.
Okay. I mean, until you really start doing it and have some historical data, you can't, there's no way to really do it besides what you're, it just seemed kind of low to me, but I understand where you're coming from. So, line 23, professional services, $97,000. Is that the pool management?
So that is an estimate of the pool management fee. Before you receive your next budget, we should have a good go-ahead number of what that's going to be. I think that's probably as high as it would go. So it's a placeholder.
It's a placeholder. Okay, because
So by the time you receive your next version of this budget, I will have updated that number.
Okay. Because I think there was a bid opening for this particular thing. It went out to bid.
And then there were issues with the bid and discussions with the city attorney. The bid did not meet the specs.
Okay.
And so we have rebid it, and the opening is Monday.
Okay, so that's fluid and it'll be what it's going to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's all the pool questions I had. We may be done here. Let me just check my notes real quick. I did want to talk about the senior center really quickly. I know there's a request for the part-time person, Liz, to become full-time. I support that, and I don't know how many of you guys make it down to the senior center, but I go to the senior center. I've filled out my card, and ashamed to say that not ashamed to say, but I am a member of the senior center, and I've watched it over the years and since COVID's been over, and how much more it's grown and different things. They're doing pickleball. Everybody's loving that. There's all kinds of stuff going on, and I just think that we need to support that. And we've gotten to the point where we do need to have a full-time person over there. And if you guys recall, we talked about the comprehensive plan last week, and Vienna's getting older, not younger. So our demographics trend higher for the population for seniors than, higher than the state average and higher than communities around us. And so I think that would be well advised to go ahead and do that. I may be done for right now, so I'll give it up. Thank you.
Back to you, Mrs. Siegel.
All right. All right, so here's what I have left after all of you guys. Mr. Roberts, will you clarify for me on the revenues page, the $30,000 in revenue for parks and recreation?
That was an estimate I gave on pool revenues.
Oh, yes, cool. That's right. Okay, good. I was just trying to equate where that was coming from. Got it. Okay, thank you. And then could you just clarify again? So in 541, it is labeled as VRIA and it has $20,000 there, but that is the $20,000 that the Parks Department will use for the batting cage. Okay. All right. So that's not, just to clarify and make sure everybody knows, that's not going to VRIA.
No,
that is
it's a project. That they've requested.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I was.
Which number was that?
$20,000 in 541.57, I believe.
59.
59, sorry.
Okay, I got it. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, that's all I had after all of that. You guys checked it off. You got some of mine, and she got some of mine. Good.
All right. So the pathway forward will be that we will have another meeting on the 29th, 14th, right. The meeting that we would have typically had on the 7th, we're not going to have due to the fact that there will not be an increase in our health insurance.
Yes, and so in the meantime, when I get the property tax numbers, I will make the few corrections that we have had here. We will have the bid on the pool I did make a mistake on the $92,000. It should have been $85,000. And so we'll have a cleaned up version that I will send out in advance of the 14th.
And so my summary of listening to you all, the major items that I hear are the longevity and the pay raise. And so in the next 2 weeks, if you would take the time to think about that, if you have questions, please reach out to our finance director, because those are the two big items that we have to work through in order to make this budget balance. Is there anything else that we need to discuss on the ballot this evening, or on the budget this evening? Mr. Easinger?
I was going to do this under council comment. One of the points I wanted to make is if we raise this to 50 cents, that's $1,000 a year. Now, numbers have a ring to them. If you say we're going to give you a $700, which it is now, a year, that doesn't grab you very hard. But when somebody says every year we're going to give you a $1,000 increase, I think that it wouldn't put everything over the top. I think it would help Craig. I think it would help police department. You know, if you start out at 50,000, work 25 years, you're going to be making 75,000. So I think it just has a good ring to it, and I think it would be a retention and recruiting plus. Thank you.
Okay. All right. With that, we will move to our last item this evening, and that will be the update on the Jackson Pool. Wait a minute, time out. Before we move on, is there anything that you would like to add to that as finance director that we should be considering?
To what Mr. Azinger was talking about?
No.
Oh,
Anything on the table?
no.
Okay, fine.
Nope.
All right, then we'll go to Mrs. Elam.
Okay, I have your update tonight for Jackson Pool. It's a long one, so bear with me. So pool construction has had ebbs and flows of things that took longer than expected and things that completed sooner than expected. And that is normal. Most times it is due to extreme cold or an abundance of rain. We have been blessed, though, with a mild winter. There have also been collaborative decisions that impacted the schedule in positive ways. There have been no significant delays in equipment, and some pieces have arrived sooner than anticipated. Because of the tight timeline, orders were placed for the slide months ago. Delivery should have been well within the company's typical lead time. However, UCCI received projected delivery dates that concerned them. Communication was taking place to question Whitewater, and that's the slide company, and find out what the options were. So that's kind of a little background going up into, and I'm going to detail a few different meetings and things that went on there. Okay, so moving into Monday, February 12th, at our construction progress meeting, Martin Aquatic said they had some possible connections, and they were going to try to expedite the fiberglass panels production and delivery. They said they would work on it for the next meeting. In the meantime, while we waited for an answer, the city asked UCCI and Omni to consider if everything except the slide would be ready Memorial Day weekend, could there be a staggered opening? And discussion of that option began. Moving forward to Thursday, February 22nd, at our city council meeting, Councilwoman Williams, she was questioning the timeline and specifically the status of the slide. There was a date on a change order that she examined that stated a completion date that may have been accurate based on a plan that was not official and would potentially change. That date changed the next week, as I will explain. Regarding the slide, I'm not sure why you would expect to see slide parts on the site at this time, since much of the work is still on things that will be covered with concrete. In my opinion, you were kind of sounding an unnecessary and inaccurate alarm. Ms. Williams, you're not a part of the meetings, and so you don't have any firsthand knowledge of what's happening, which means somehow you got bad information. On Monday, February 26th, so just the following week, after that council meeting, we received an email from Martin Aquatic that confirmed the status of the fiberglass panels production and delivery would remain the same and would not be delivered prior to our planned opening. So the next day at our construction progress meeting, an updated schedule was provided, and I'm going to share the highlights in just a moment. Throughout this process, we have responsibly communicated with council and the public. The construction progress meetings that are conducted twice a month are detailed and full of updates, decisions, questions, and discussion amongst the customer, that's us, the engineer, Omni, and the contractor, UCCI, and their subcontractors. Updates that we provide here are usually broad unless a specific issue needs to be shared. At the last council meeting, yes, we knew that there were possible delays, but it was being worked on, and we didn't have an answer back yet. So why would we unnecessarily worry the public with incomplete information? Those of us working on this project are committed to its completion and are operating in reality and are doing it with positive attitudes. The slide is a hot button. The price tag is a favorite negative spin, and personally, I am done with the negativity. Do you realize that in just 3 months, the pool will be open? I mean, this has been a 2-year process. In 3 months, the pool will be open. This massive project is on the home stretch, and this is exciting. Our community has endured not only the weight of a 2-year closure, but also a pool in decline in the years before that. New life will be on the hill, and there is absolutely nothing to complain about. 2 years ago, I took the initiative to find out how to move forward with taking care of the pool situation, not even knowing it would need to be overhauled. The can had been kicked down the road for too long, and I knew the solution was attainable. Mayor Rapp has been an invaluable support and resource from the beginning. His work, especially since construction began, has been helpful for the day in and day out business and communication. So where do things stand now? Here are the dates to know. Substantial completion is May 17th. The soft opening, which is everything except the slide, will be May 23rd. The slide steel installation will start on May 6th. The slide fiberglass installation will start June 18th. And final completion, when it's all said and done, will be June 26th. Please remember that dates may shift slightly depending on weather and unforeseen variables. Details are being worked out for securing the incomplete slide area for the soft opening, because the steel supports and all of that, the landing, all of that will be in, but we won't have the actual fiberglass in just yet. But we are happy to be able to tell you that yes, the pool and wading pool will open Memorial Day weekend, and the slide will be commissioned a month after that. We can start taking reservations for pool parties on May 1st, and at that point, we'll know if there are dates that will need to be blocked out for the slide installation. Party nights are Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays this year. In the coming months, as details are finalized, more information will be available regarding programming and activities. Currently, there is a change order I want to explain. The change order title for this one is Pool Deck Equipment Concrete. It is in the amount of $34,471, and we have approved that change order. And I want to share some details on that. Similar to the main drain and grouting of the pool tunnel wall, the additional concrete reinforcements for the pool deck equipment is work that has to be done for public safety. Unfortunately, this work was not detailed out in the bid documents due to the existing pool tunnel deck needing to be removed prior to finalizing the details for support and anchorage of the pool deck equipment. And by that, I'm meaning like the basketball hoops, the ladders, the ADA lifts, that kind of stuff. In hindsight, the architect should have included an allowance in the bid documents for this work, so there would have been funds allocated from the beginning instead of an unexpected change order. This work is not something that was chosen to be added on, but something that is absolutely necessary for public safety. So in a sense, this is more of a, it's not, I guess I view change orders a lot of times as, well, I changed my mind, and so now we have to figure something else out. But this is not that. This is absolutely necessary for public safety, and so we have approved that. So I know that was a lot this evening, but I felt it was necessary to give good detail on some things that have transpired recently, and why I believe that we have been very responsible with how we have communicated with the public and with council as the construction process has evolved.
All right. Any questions on the pool report?
Yeah, I do. I have a couple. First of all, can I get a copy of everything you laid out, just so I can review it? Because there was a lot, and I took some notes, but I know I didn't get everything. I certainly didn't get it all right. So what you are saying is there'll be a staggered opening. And we won't open with the slide. And by the way, I think you came to a lot of assumptions about what you said. I just went around the pool. I go up there, I'm looking, and there's no slide up there. And we're getting close to a date, and knowing that thing has to be hauled in by a 18-wheeler, we all know I'm not involved in any of it. So it's just a guess. Anyway, so I guess I have a hard time understanding how you can have the pool open with no slide, because you kind of have, I'm concerned about safety, number one, to block that off. And I know how, creative kids can be to get past all that. And my other question is just a practical one, because I think the state has to come in and inspect before we can open up. And so without the slide being there, and I'm really not sure about how all that works as far as filtration, the chemicals and everything like that.
So each piece, so the pool, the wading pool, and the slide are all on their own systems. If you remember that part. So part of saying that, okay, we know now that we can do the staggered opening, but a lot of details still have to be worked out. So the health department, the state inspection, all this kind of stuff, we're still working on all of that. But we know enough to be able to say that this is going to happen. And and the safety, absolutely. I mean, because that was our question, we started thinking outside the box, because we thought it'd be silly to have this pool sitting there fully ready to go and have to wait a month for fiberglass to come in. And so we started talking to UCCI and Omni about it, and said, we want to get this pool open. Is there any way that we can do it safely? And so we'll make sure whatever fencing or barriers or whatever it needs to be in place, all of that would be absolutely top priority to make sure that it can't be penetrated, nobody can get into it, and get hurt. So.
Okay, and then
I spoke to the inspector today. There is no issue whatsoever with the inspection. None.
I'm sure there's not until they come in and inspect it. So
It's brand new.
I agree with that.
But anyway, I've already taken care of that.
Good. And just to qualify the thing about the substantial completion date, that's a contract. And I mean, when the mayor's answer was, picked up the phone, called Charlie Taylor, and that was a mistake and whatever. All I know is if it's in a contract, then that's what it's saying, and that we shouldn't have any expectation that it would be completed earlier than that. So while I understand you don't particularly like that I brought that up, I'm just reading what's in a contract. It's not my thing.
Yeah.
I didn't make it up. I mean, I'm reading it, and I know as a business person, just what's in the contract is what you go by, or else you're in, off somewhere else you don't want to be.
Well, and so, yeah, and even that date, the contract had said, it was on that change order. It said it was the 28th, and the new date is the 26th now, not to mince words, or 2 days or whatever, but, and some of that is still needing to be worked out. We're having a meeting tomorrow with Russ to figure out the details on what that staggered opening is going to look like. Do we need to make any adjustments to the contract? How does that look? Because in a way, so substantial completion, typically contractors have 1 month to finish things after substantial completion. So you've got substantial completion, kind of a month to go through your punch list, and then final completion is a month later. well, the way things are now, because the fiberglass is delayed in getting in, and I'm still hoping that something happens and that fiberglass shows up earlier. I would love that. But as of right now, from what we have to base our information on, that's what I've provided tonight is the schedule. But there are things that they're going to be able to start kind of working ahead on as far as the punch list, just so they're not waiting until substantial completion. They can go ahead and start working on that and making sure that they're getting that done, because really from substantial completion until the pool opens is 1 week now. But we have another 4 or 5 weeks before final completion. So we're adding the pool opening in the midst of that. So we still have to figure that kind of stuff out with them. But I'm confident that they would not have even entertained that option if that was something that they could not accommodate. So like I said, there are still there's some pieces working, and we're still trying to figure out how all those details are going to fit together. Yeah, that's where we're at.
Yeah, I just thank you for explaining that, and I appreciate it when you give me that document.
Yeah,
So,
I'll email it to you.
Thank you.
All right. That concludes our agenda this evening. We will now move to council comments. No council comments. Chief Scholl, congratulations to not only you, but thank you to the Public Works Department for making sure we have adequate fire hydrants. There was an inventory taken. We have 270 fire hydrants in the city of Vienna. So, that's a lot to maintain. And one of the questions that's asked on your test is there adequate water pressure? And yes, we've got more than adequate water pressure. So anyway, congratulations to both of you. Yes, sir, Steve, you've stuck a finger up.
I just want everybody to know our new fire truck is in production right now. It's on the line being built. So hopefully the end of March, 1st of April, it should be arriving.
Good deal. Good deal. So are you saying we should have a parade on July 4th to have you show that new fire truck off?
I'm game.
Okay, there you go.
Well, parade.
Hey, me too. It's in the middle of the week. We'll do it in the evening. How about that?
Okay.
All right. Chief, you going to bring some police cars?
I like to do that.
There you go. All right. With that, meeting adjourned. Hey, Craig, you can bring your new snowplow on July 4th.